Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar that is for the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. The expression of interest period just ended. I hope that at least a majority of you were able to submit their EOI email in time. You can use your raise your hand feature. Use your raise your hand feature to let me know if you were able to submit your EOI email in time, so we'll know how many people we have here that were able to submit. Okay, that's not too many. Hopefully the other just don't know how to use the raise your hand feature or didn't figure it out, didn't find it yet. I'm going to take any questions concerning the exploratory visit program category. Actually, it's not a program, it's a category within the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. You can use the Q&A feature to ask any question via text. If you want to ask a question using the mic, we can also do that. But I think that maybe for now we'll just go with the text questions. So let me just make sure that the Q&A feature is working. Okay, so it is working and I already see questions. So I'm going to start with the first question. I've submitted my request for exploratory visit within the given period, but my IELTS was valid till February 2016. Will it be acceptable by them till I send them the latest one? How long this request is valid? How long usually it takes to know what my request has been reviewed and what is the result? Okay. Thank you for your question. Now, there is no full transparency with the system. The Manitoba Provincial Nominee Office, they really hold their cards close to their chest. They're not telling anyone, they don't make it public when exactly they're going to start reviewing, how long it's going to be in process of review. They said that for the 2016 cycle, they're going to keep the invitation valid for a year, the profile valid for a year. We don't really know at this point what that means exactly, but usually what happened in the past, after the acceptance window was closed, they used the following month or so, maybe give or take a few weeks, to make a firm commitment to everyone who submitted within the window, and then they started sending the replies. And usually the replies included a questionnaire that the candidates that they were interested in progressing with advancing through this process, those candidates were supposed to return the completed questionnaire within the 30 days time frame. We have a video tutorial dedicated for the completion of the questionnaire. I don't know if we're going to have the questionnaire in the 2016 cycle. You have to understand that there is a lot that is unknown, the same way that we didn't know when they are making the announcement, when they made the announcement that they're going to bump the language criteria to CLB 6 after it's been CLB 5 for the preceding 3 years. Nobody knew. They just they raised it to CLB 6 on the day that the announcement was made that the exploratory visit intake period started. The day that they announced it, if I'm not mistaken, it was between the 18th or 19th of January. It popped up on the website, and all of a sudden, it took me a careful review just to notice that all of a sudden the CLB that they require is 6 and not 5, which obviously made a huge difference to many prospective candidates who were waiting for the program to open. So, we don't really know. There's no a great deal of transparency in terms of their decision making. They go on a case-by-case basis, okay? And they can basically look at somebody, let's say candidate X, candidate Y, very similar, and for whatever reason, the visa officer can decide that they will advance with the exploratory visit process candidate Y, but they would not do that with candidate X. It can be maybe a slightly better English language. It can be an occupation, a job, work experience that candidate Y has, and they don't make it public. We don't know exactly what would make someone more likely to receive an invitation for an exploratory visit. We don't know. Nobody knows because they don't make it public. It's only known within the circles of the Manitoba officials, the immigration department officials. They can have internal policies that they just, the senior bureaucrats just tell all the program officers, we're preferring to accept candidates who have 1, 2, 3. And nobody knows exactly what it is. Generally speaking, it's some kind of a demonstrated ability to establish the candidate, establish themselves, their family in Manitoba, integrate with the community, showing signs that you would be able to make a living in the province. But beyond that, there is nothing really concrete that we can say, well, they're looking for engineers, they're looking for electricians, they're looking for information technology people. There's really nothing that was published. A part of the reason is because they want to open the program to pretty much anyone who meet the basic requirements. And they want to have a certain size of a pool of candidates who submitted the EOI email. And then they would, it can also be just an issue of numbers. If they have a lot of people who submitted the emails and they disqualify them, because you have to understand, they receive thousands of submissions, and they're going to receive email messages that somebody forgot to include their CV, somebody forgot to include their IELTS, somebody submitted an IELTS with a result below CLB6. So they're eliminating hundreds, maybe even thousands of submissions. So once they hit their target, and they don't say exactly what the target is. I'm going to assume that it's under 5,000 candidates because there is a quota from Citizenship and Immigration Canada, but we don't know exactly what the figure is, because let's just say that you have 2 potentially qualified candidates, and one of them forgot to include his IELTS. He's immediately going to be discarded. His email is discarded, and then it opens the door, give a chance to somebody else down the list. Okay, so there is a lot that's going on into that, and there is a lot of information that we just don't have. It's not made public. It doesn't matter that you're an immigration consultant or what have you. For example, I was able to obtain under an access to information request, a formal request to the government of Manitoba, the questionnaire that was used in previous years. I don't know if they're going to use the same questionnaire this year, but there is a lot of internal business that is going on within the department that is not made public. So I'm emphasizing this, so you don't ask me or send us a Canadian visa expert or Great North Immigration a whole bunch of emails asking us what exactly would help you to qualify, because honestly we don't know. I'm going to just, before I'll take the next question, there are a couple of points that I just want to make that are absolutely crucial. If you submitted an EOI email within the window, which was January 19th to yesterday, February 17th, if you did that, you have to monitor all the incoming messages, and that includes your spam folder, junk folder. I don't know what email setup you have. We have many clients, and I know that when I send an email to some clients, there is all kinds of email clients and web email and software that is blocking incoming messages unless the sender is doing some kind of a confirmation on automatically on an auto response message. So if I send you an email, you're not going to receive the email unless I click a link on an email that I receive back, a message that is sent from your server. If you're going to have that type of thing with the MPNP, you might not receive a response from them, because I can't say that the program officer is going to click a link to make sure that the message is delivered to your inbox. So if you have some kind of fancy spam blocking screening mechanism, I would suggest to disable that stuff. Don't have that stuff working on your email address that you used for sending the expression of interest email to make the exploratory visit. Do not have any such manipulation applied to your email address. That can be a killer. That would basically, if they send you a response, let's say they send you the questionnaire, and then your email server is basically blocking or putting on hold the message until they click a link, they're not going to click the link. There is a very good chance that they're not going to click the link, and you are screwed. You're not going to get the message, okay? Very, very important, because I've seen that with many of our clients. They have this type of setup where they don't get emails unless it's somebody on their contact list, somebody who already confirmed by clicking that validation link, or some other arrangement within the server of the business or company, or what have you. Don't do that. Don't have that on the email that you use, because you would be out of luck, okay? Now, at the same time, we have clients that we send important email messages to, and they just don't respond. They don't have internet all of a sudden. They work in some remote area somewhere in the Middle East or Africa, and they just, they don't have internet. The next 6 to 8 weeks, if you submitted a good EOI email within the time frame, with your CV, with your ILTS, you have to monitor all incoming messages, okay? I can't, overstate how important it is. If you're not going to check your spam folder, if you're not going to add the Manitoba email address to your safe senders and contact list, you might miss your only chance with this program. And I'm saying that I know the fact of the matter is, the reality is, many of our clients will probably drop the ball, just because we have many clients, and many of them, as I mentioned, they go to locations where they don't have internet, or they live their busy life and they just forget about it. And they forget that they need to check their spam. They need to make sure that they don't miss that incoming message. Because if I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but if they're going to include a questionnaire, usually you're going to have a deadline of 30 days to send back the questionnaire. If you miss the email with the questionnaire, or if you miss an email where they tell you, we like everything that we've seen from you, and we want to schedule a visit with you. If you're dropping the ball and you're not responding within a time frame, they're just moving to the next person, okay? They're moving to the next person. Don't just be out of it. You have to at least in the next 6 to 8 weeks, you need to monitor your inbox all the time. Make it a daily routine to check your spam folders, to check your inbox. You can't go for 7 days without checking your email because you're going to forget, and then if it went to your spam, there is a good chance that you just won't find it, okay? It can happen. This potentially can be your permanent resident visa and ultimately your Canadian citizenship. Because if they like what they've seen from you in the EOI email and they're willing to move ahead with your candidacy and to invite you to Manitoba, and you just miss the email, that can be the difference. Ultimately, you have to go through all the steps, go through the interview, submit a nomination application, submit an immigration visa application after your nomination is approved by Manitoba, to Citizenship and Immigration Canada, get the final letter and the visa from Citizenship and Immigration Canada. But ultimately, there is a good chance that if Manitoba is interested in you, everything will be fine. And if you miss that one email that you need to reply to, it basically eliminates you from the process, okay? So be very, very mindful of all incoming email for that address that you used for the expression of interest email that you sent Manitoba. And I know that some people probably, well, many people have more than one email address. So if you use one for your personal stuff and your work, or you use one for work and a separate one for your personal stuff, I don't know what's your personal arrangement, but that particular address that was used for sending the EOI email to Manitoba, you have to be on top of it, okay? This is, I'm not gonna probably give you another warning. I think that I already mentioned that in the mailer that we sent yesterday. I think yesterday was the mailer when we announced that the program closed. We mentioned the fact that you have to monitor all the incoming messages. Otherwise, you'll have a very, very big problem. I just want to go back to the questions and the part about the IELTS. I hope that even if you submitted the EOI with an expired IELTS by a few months, maybe even a year, and it's over CLB6, I hope that they would still consider that, because for that particular step in the process, officially by CIC and by the Manitoba Immigration Office, when you submit an application for nomination or visa, you need to have a result that is not older than 2 years to be valid. But having said that, the email, the expression of interest email, is just a preliminary step. It's not a part of a formal application. They just want to see your level, and then they're going to make the decision if you're going to come for a visit. Now, I don't know. They might just decide that they're going to, if they have too many emails, they can just use validity of the test in the EOI email to discard emails and eliminate candidates. I don't know. They didn't provide any indication regarding the validity. They just mentioned that you have to have CLB6. So I don't know. Don't ask me if they're going to be more lenient or less lenient. Our recommendation to our client base was that if you have CLB6, even on an expired language test result, you should use it in your EOI in lieu of other valid test result. Now, at the same time, you should, as long as you're interested in immigration to Canada, you can't only have an expired IELTS or test. You need to have a valid language test result at all time to maintain your chance to get to a visa, get to a nomination by a province, get to a visa, whatever the case may be. The reality is you just have to have a valid test result. If you don't have a valid test result, something happens, something changes, you can't do anything if you get to a point where the test is a must, okay? And if you don't have a valid score report, you'll be out of luck, okay? I know that with this Manitoba program, we had many clients who purchased the access to us from Canadian Visa Expert back in 2013. They gave up on the program because there was such a long gap between the acceptance cycle that was just closed and the previous one, which was in early 2013. So we had like 3 years basically where we didn't have an acceptance period. Now it's quite possible that the next one will be early 2017 because there were all kinds of reasons why that 3 years gap was created. A lot of it didn't have anything to do with Manitoba. It was basically issues that were created and imposed by Citizenship and Immigration Canada, the Federal Immigration Department of Canada, not by the Manitoba Provincial Immigration Office. So I don't know. It can be 2 years, it can be 1 year, it can be 3 years. Who knows? Everything is very dynamic. But it's just important that you understand, if you don't have a test result, let's say you were unable to submit the EOI email within this cycle, and you don't bother getting a new valid IELTS or TEF, whichever language is your first language, English or French. Once we get to the next acceptance cycle, if it's again January, February 2017, you don't have an IELTS, there's nothing you can do. You won't be able to kickstart the process for next year, and we won't be able to consider you for maybe a different program like the Federal Express Entry program. So it's crucial that you have a valid IELTS result at all, basically at all time. If you're getting into, well, I don't want to pay these, roughly $300 again, I don't want to prepare myself again, then, you just don't have the level of commitment that you need to have for this process. This is not an easy process. Yes, if you qualify and everything falls in the right place, it can't be an easy process. You can have somebody who immediately after they start the process, contact Canadian Visa Expert, contact Great North Immigration, if you're a direct client or a referral from them. You can be in a position where you start the process and pretty fast you have an application and you get to the visa in less than maybe 2 years, year and a half. It can happen, but for most people, it's not an easy process. And as I always tell everybody, this is not an application for a public library card, okay? This is not an application for a gym membership. This is not going to the store or engaging a commercial entity, okay, and paying for a product or a service. You're dealing with the immigration authorities of Canada, whether it's the federal or the provincial immigration authorities, and they're calling the shots. It's their rules, it's their policy. As I mentioned, in the provincial side, there's not that much transparency. It's not like the federal immigration law and system that are governed by a federal law of Canada. With the provincial programs, they can make things as they go. They can change the policy, they can change the process, they can change the criteria. The same way that, we woke up on January 19th and all of a sudden the program was open, but it was open with CLB 6 instead of CLB 5. Nobody other than the people that work in the Manitoba Immigration Office knew that this is going to happen, okay? So I know that this uncertainty, it's not just, it's making things very difficult for a prospective immigrant to Canada. And it's very annoying for people who, you can pay an immigration lawyer or consultant like myself or a private a company to do an assessment like Canadian Visa Expert, or, whatever you do. Some people, they pay huge amounts of money to Toronto immigration lawyers that charge a lot more than what Canadian Visa Expert or us are charging. People pay $5,000 USD, $10,000 USD for immigration processes, and still, the same way with doctors, these lawyers and consultants that charge that kind of money, they still don't provide any guarantees that exceed the inherent limitations that are due to the decisions of the immigration authorities. No private lawyer or consultant can supersede or do anything when the government is changing policies. You know, they're above everybody in the private sector, and sometimes people don't understand that, and they don't have both the federal and the provincial government. They don't have that obligation as they're not a commercial entity. They can one day decide that they want to dispose of thousands of files, and they just pass a decision, or they pass a law in the Parliament of Canada. The previous immigration minister and the one before him, under the Harper government, they eliminated a whole bunch of files that were in process using legislation, because they just wanted to revamp the immigration system, and they just decided that we have this huge backlog and huge inventory, and we're just going to slice it. And they did that using legislation. In the case of the provincial nominee programs, they can make changes from today to tomorrow without any legislation. The provincial immigration minister is instructing his top bureaucrats, you need to do this, you need to do that. The senior officials decide, and then you have something like CLB 6 instead of CLB 5 in the case of Manitoba and what we just experienced with our clients. So, you know, it is what it is. There's really nothing that can be done, and you have to take everything. My recommendation to all prospective immigrants, our clients, even if they're not our clients, you have to take this with stride. We know occasionally we receive email from clients who are frustrated because they want to be in Canada already next week. It doesn't work like that. You have to take a deep breath. You have to maintain your composure, and you just have to do whatever you can to maximize your chance. You know, hopefully you have an immigration consultant or lawyer who you can trust, who is reliable, who's giving you the right information, even if this information is frustrating, because the information might be things that you don't want to hear because the process is difficult. It's a difficult process. And even if you're eligible or you meet the basic requirements, the process can still be very difficult. We have a few clients who in certain categories, the moment they become our clients, their qualifications are so good, their position is so, they're so well positioned to get the visa, that relatively to most of the other clients, their journey is relatively easy. Let's say somebody on the express entry system, they have a ranking score of over 450 points, they're probably going to get their visa like that, comparing to other clients. It's never really like that, but it can be a certain path, and just a matter of a few months, and they will get an invitation to apply, and they will get a visa. You can also have with Manitoba, let's say one of our clients who submitted now an EOI email will have terrific CV. He would have some connection to Manitoba. Maybe he spent there a year in his life. Maybe he has some friends, whatever. Maybe he has a cousin there that can help him settle down, and he's going to mention that in their EOI email, and that would give them a great chance. That can almost secure an interview, a visit and an interview. And if they do well in the interview, they might secure a nomination, and then from the point where they have the letter of nomination, they, in all likelihood, unless they're criminals or there's some medical problem with them or with their family members, they will get their immigration visa from Citizenship and Immigration Canada, or Immigration, Refugees, and the Citizenship Canada, the way that they changed the name of the federal department now. I'm still going to call them CIC. So when I say CIC, just remember that I'm referring to the Federal Immigration Department of Canada. Okay, let me just move on to the next question. Which city will the visit be in? Okay, very good. We're getting some very good questions today. The interview will take place in Winnipeg because this is where the MPNP office is, and you will have to do the interview in Winnipeg. But you can basically have the visit in any community, because it's up to you. If you're going to tell the MPNP office, I want to go to this remote community, you don't have to go to Winnipeg. Most people go to Winnipeg because it's the largest and the main city in the province of Manitoba. But I have to tell you, and I mentioned that in webinars in the past, if you are willing to go to a smaller community, if you're willing to settle there, I'm not just talking about the exploratory visit, but you will go to a smaller community in your visit because your intention is to settle in a smaller community, that can increase your chance. Again, this is not something that they publish. This is not something that is in the public domain. They don't specifically say that, but you don't have to be you don't have to be a genius to figure this thing out, because the whole purpose of the provincial nominee program is to settle the province of Manitoba and attract newcomers. So if you have a prospective immigrant who is willing to make that commitment to a smaller community, okay, and you have more than in Manitoba, which is a community that has a specialized program. It's they accept very small number of families, but they have their own program. And the reason is, if you're willing to settle and tell Manitoba, if you go to a visit or when they schedule the visit, if you make it clear that you have an interest in a particular community outside the Winnipeg area, it will increase your chance, because you would be more desirable. Again, it depends on everything, your English, your CV, everything. But if you have the willingness to commit to a smaller community, that potentially, again, we don't know the internal working in the decision-making side of the program, okay? So I cannot guarantee, because I don't know, but from understanding the immigration system and understanding what Manitoba is trying to accomplish, again, you don't need to be a genius. If you're going to be willing to go to a community of 10,000 people and not to Winnipeg that has 600 or 700,000 people, if you're willing to go to a small town of 20,000 or a small community of 10, 15,000 people, and I don't know, you're an engineer, you provide some service, you're planning, maybe your spouse will open a store and you will do something else, that would be very attractive to the Manitoba immigration program. Okay, so that's a tip that is important. Now, at the same time, I'm not telling you to let that entirely affect your decision-making process. You can still be a strong candidate even if you tell them, look, I'm only coming to Winnipeg. I don't want to be anywhere else in Manitoba. I'm only willing to commit to settling in the city of Winnipeg. You can still secure the nomination. You can still get the visit and go to the interview and get the permission to apply for nomination and secure the nomination. I'm just saying, and I don't want what I'm saying now to affect you. If you want to go to Winnipeg, then just to force yourself into a spot where you're saying, well, I have to find somewhere where they only have 5,000 or 10,000 people and tell them that I'm going there, because this can have consequences. Okay, if you're going to tell them, if it's going to be a part of your interview that you are willing to go there, and then they look at your addresses after they approve you and you didn't go there, even though within the province, if you stay within the province of Manitoba, you should be fine. If you're going to tell them, look, I had to move to Winnipeg because that small community, just I couldn't make a living there. But you shouldn't say things that you're not willing to follow on. You should not misrepresent your intentions. If you know from the get-go that, well, I'm probably going to tell them that I'm going there, but if I get the visa, I'll go to Winnipeg. You shouldn't do that, because that can fall within, you know, the parameters of misrepresentation. You have to be careful with that. Don't make any kind of statement that you don't really that you can back up, and you don't really mean, and you don't really have a true intention of following whatever statement you're making. Okay, very important with any declaration that you're making, that you actually mean it, because it's up to them. You have a room to maneuver. You can say, look, this didn't work out. I'm staying within Manitoba, but I can't live there. I'm moving to Winnipeg. But you have to be careful, because it's up to them to interpret what happened, okay? And they can say, well, you know what? We went towards you with the nomination because you said that you're going to be an electrician in that small community in that corner of Manitoba, and then you didn't go there. It can become an issue. Anything that they can perceive as misrepresentation. Now, obviously, there is a whole legal process, and you can fight that, and they can just revoke your status because you said this or said that. But generally speaking, misrepresentation is a very serious issue, and they can revoke somebody's citizenship if they immigrated on some false pretense of doing something and they just didn't do it, or if you said something and you ended up, there is an appearance that you maybe lied, okay? It can be a gray area, but they can maybe take the position. They have the right to interpret things a certain way. Obviously, you can fight it, you can go through the legal process. You don't want to be there. The thing is, you just don't want to be there. And that goes to the whole idea of settling in Manitoba. If you're going to tell them, I'm going to Manitoba, you need to go to Manitoba. If you're going to get a visa and spend in Manitoba 2 weeks and then move to Ontario, you're going to have a big problem. Good chance you're going to have a very big problem, okay? Let me just take another question. I sent the email to the MPNP and I didn't get any confirmation that it's been received. There is no auto response. They didn't set it up. They disabled it. I don't know why they do it the way that they do it, but you don't get an auto response. They only going to select those candidates they are interested in advancing through the process, and they will contact them at some point within the next few weeks. I don't know how long they're going to continue reviewing and contacting people. It can be 2 months, 3 months. They can keep those emails and throughout the year look for candidates. If people cancel visits, anything can happen. Somebody can be invited for a visit and then they need a visitor visa to come to Canada, and Citizenship and Immigration Canada, they say, we don't care that Manitoba invited you. We're not approving your visitor visa application because you don't live in your country of nationality. You've been living in various countries. You violated immigration law in a place X. You worked without a visa. Who knows? You don't have any kids, and you're single, and you're 23, and maybe if we let you come to Manitoba supposedly for the visit, you'll never leave Canada because maybe you're coming from a war-torn country in the Middle East or Africa, and if we let you come to Canada, you're never going to leave. Whether, you know, the issue of the visit to Manitoba is completely insignificant because you will just run away somewhere and live illegally in Canada, and that's it. Because once we let you in, there is no way in the world you go back to the Middle East or Africa or wherever you coming from. So, you know, we don't know. You can also have a situation where your boss is basically telling you, if you're going to be away for 2 weeks, or the visit is 7 to 10 days. This is what they expect you to do. But your boss might tell you, I'm going to fire you, or you're losing your job, and or the circumstances are such that you're going to lose so much money if you're going to make the trip in that particular point in time that you can't make the visit, you know. And then, you know, people cancel these visits all the time, and then they have to go to somebody else. So I don't know if they're just going to have people that will be approved beyond the questionnaire stage, or they'll just go back to the emails. Nothing is really known, and this knowledge is not in the public domain. We can learn as we go through this 2016 cycle, and which is the first cycle after almost 3 years. We can learn from that, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be exactly what they've done in the past. So, you know, it's very difficult to say which way they will go with the process for this year, because it already appears that they are making some kind of a change where they're talking about profiles being valid for a period of a year. Okay, so once we have more information, once clients receive the response and contacted us and we help them with the process with the MPNP office, then we'll have a better idea of how exactly they're doing things for this year. And we're going to send you the information through mailers and WhatsApp and all of that stuff, okay? So don't worry about that. We don't keep the information for ourselves once we learn something that the MPNP is doing. That's being our approach all the time, and we're not going to change that. Let me just take one more question. We're going to stop at 5 minutes after 1 o'clock Toronto time. Okay, so we still have like 7 more minutes. Somebody saying, I've submitted the email on the 24th of January. Am I within the correct range? Yes, you are. It was between the 19th and yesterday. I don't know exactly what time of the day you submitted it, but they're going to apply the cutoff range, and that's going to be it. Okay. Okay, I get a whole bunch of questions. I think that I already addressed the IELTS issue. There is a good chance that even if it expired, they would still take a look at it. We don't know what their policy exactly would be. It should not be as strict for the EOI email because it's not the actual nomination application. So hopefully, even if your IELTS or TEF just expired when you submitted the EOI, if your language proficiency was high enough, if you were above CLB 6 or above, you hopefully should be at least receiving consideration. We don't know. It depends on them. If they reply to your email, then you will know that, you know, what happened there. If they're not interested in you, they're not going to respond to your email. It's probably going to take 6 to 8 weeks. If you didn't receive a response within that time frame, you will need to try again next year or improve something and try maybe a different program. My IELTS results will expire in April, and I'm scheduled to take the next exam in April. How will this affect my EOI? It won't affect it. You just have to make sure that at any given moment in time, you have a valid test. So don't wait to the last moment and then have a period where you don't have a valid test report, okay? So if it's going, let's say it expires on April 31st, make sure that by April 31st, you already have a new result. The other thing, obviously, you need to get the best score possible. So you don't want to go below CLB 6, obviously, because that's going to disqualify you. Okay, so if you had CLB 6 when you submitted the EOI, you need to maintain at least that level, because that's the minimum, that's the language threshold for this program. You go below CLB 6, you're done, okay? And I just want to remind you, CLB 6 means 5.0 for reading for the IELTS, and at least 5.5 for the other 3, listening, reading, speaking, okay? Same thing, you can go, we have the equivalency tables. If you want to know for TEF, just send me an email. I can send you the equivalency for the TEF test. I don't have it because they have such a complicated range there. I don't remember that from the top of my head. It's much easier with the IELTS, but it's still CLB 6 or NCLC 6. It's equivalent to CLB 6. It's just for the terms are different, obviously, for French. If one is not selected, will there be a mail to that effect from them? Again, I'm not sure. Previously, they had established the cutoff range, and they made a commitment only to the emails within the cutoff range. and they responded to everyone, even if they didn't select them. I don't really know how they're going to do it this year. We're going to learn once the ball is rolling, and probably 4-6 weeks from now we'll have better answers. And obviously we're going to have mailers and webinars, and we'll address all these issues. Okay, the only thing that you need to concern yourself, if you send the EOI in time, you had your CV, you had your IELTS, do not miss an incoming message from them. Okay, that would just be a pity. That would just be extremely unfortunate if you receive a response, a positive response, and you just drop the ball, missing the email message. Let's take a few more questions. There are many. Okay, I'll just, let's just extend it to 1:10. I'll give you 7 more minutes for this webinar, and let me just try to finish all the questions. You know what? Don't send any more questions. I'm going to try and finish everything that I have. And people probably listened to me because I spoke a lot, but I had to give you all this information, so I don't see any more questions here, and I'll just try to answer everything that is left here. If MPNP officers invite me for an exploratory visit according to date that I declared in my expression of interest email, which official documents should I bring with me to Manitoba? For instance, should I take my possession official documents like title? Well, you would need to take education, work experience documents if you actually get to an interview, which will happen at the end of the exploratory visit, okay? But first, again, I'm pretty sure that they're going to send a questionnaire. So you're going to have this intermediary stage where you have to complete the questionnaire, and only after the questionnaire, they will make the decision if they want to invite you for the visit. And only then you will know, you will schedule the dates and all of that. You should have everything pertaining to education and work experience, because these 2 items are the most important ones. We would let you know. If you get to that point, you will know exactly what you need to have with you. I don't think that you would need to have, obviously, original language test. They might ask for an ECA report, even though they don't have an upfront requirement for Manitoba to produce education credential assessment report. You will know, first thing first, just get to the point where you are actually approved for the exploratory visit. You will have from them all the information that they want for this cycle, candidates who are approved for a visit to bring with them. They won't leave you in the dark. You will have all that information. Okay, somebody's sending me a unique, I don't know, send us an email. Send us an email. You shouldn't provide your unique number to everybody to see here. So just send us your personal email message or a text message, and we'll look into your profile and see what the situation is. Okay. Don't submit any uniques through the Q&A session. Okay. Q&A feature. No personal information that is identifying you, such as your client ID number. Okay, thank you. This thing should be handled through personal communication via WhatsApp, SMS, email. Thank you. Hi, I have submitted. Okay, people still sending questions. I ask no more questions. Okay, no more questions. I'm going to look at the last question here. That's it. Don't send any more questions. Okay. I have submitted both the CV and the IELTS results with CLB 6 on February 8, 2016. Please advise if the application submitted is within the time frame. It's not an application, it's an email. It should be good. It's within the time frame, okay? Will I get an email confirmation to visit Manitoba from? They will contact you if they're interested in inviting you. How long will we have to wait for the communication? I don't know. Once you receive an email, you will know. Monitor your emails. Don't miss a message from them, okay? That would be very, very, very bad. What is the email that MPNP will send to us? Is it the same one we use when we submit? It's the same one. It should come back from the same one, okay? It should be a reply. If it's not, I don't think that they're going to do something other than a direct reply to the EOI email that you sent, but at any rate, It's the same email that you use to submit your EOI message. Add it to your safe sender list. If you have one, add it to your contact list. Make sure you don't have any filters. Like I said, no filters, no screens of the incoming messages, all kinds of spam filters. If you're going to screen out their message, you're screwed. Okay? If you're going to screen out, if your software is going to prevent you from receiving their email, you're screwed. You probably lost your chance to proceed, because they're not going to wait on you. They're going to have some kind of a time frame attached to the email. They will tell you you have 5, they can say whatever they want. They can say you have to respond to this email within 5 business days, or they can send you a questionnaire, you have to complete it within 30 days. If you're dropping the ball, that's it. That's going to be the end of it. You're eliminated, okay? So keep that in mind. I just gave you, somebody's asking, 6 to 8 weeks means before end of April 2016. From this point on, okay, until we know that they're done with you, and until whenever, if you receive an email from the MP&P office, you need to be able to make sure it's delivered and you read it and you're aware of that. I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you can receive an email message from them 2 months from now telling you, well, we want to consider you for a visit. There are no rules here, okay? There's really no rules here. If you're not going to be able to receive or read the message because, you know, you didn't pay attention, you didn't check your spam folder, you're going to have a problem. There's nothing to do. This is how it works. It's an email message that the process is initiated through, okay? If they send you, if they reply, and 6 months later, you're going to realize, wow, they sent me an email and it was in my spam folder and they sent it 5 months ago and I didn't see it. You're screwed. That's it. You're screwed. There is no, you can't just tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. It doesn't work like that. This is very, very strict, okay? This is very strict. They don't care. If they tell you, you need to respond within 5 days. If you're going to tell them, oh, I'm so sorry, it went to my spam and I didn't see it and I didn't respond, tough luck. Nobody cares. Your problem. You're screwed, okay? This is how it is. I know it sounds harsh, but they don't care. They have so many people who want to immigrate to Canada and to Manitoba that they just don't care. It's your problem. You want to immigrate, you have to make sure that you are on top of everything. And if that means that you have to monitor your incoming email, you know, as close as possible, closer than any time previously in your life for the next, you know, 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever the case is, you need to do that. Once we get a message that that's it, we already selected everybody and the invitations were out, then you know, okay, it's over for the next few months, okay? But it is what it is. You know, the most basic thing that I can tell you, be mindful and be careful and stay on top of things, okay? If you're going to be negligent and you're going to forget and lazy and this, that, or the other, you're not going to do well. You know, you might miss the invitation. I'm sure, let me be honest with you, it's almost a certainty that we're going to have some clients who will miss the incoming message just because we have a lot of clients. So somebody is going to receive an invitation, receiving a message that's saying, respond within 30 days or 5 days, complete the questionnaire or tell us when you can come because we like your CV, and they will not respond. They will miss the opportunity. I can almost guarantee that because it happens all the time to us where clients just, you know, we have clients that waited. We have clients who waited for 2.5 years for the acceptance window to open, okay? And we have even a couple of clients who had CLB 6 IELTS result, and they just didn't submit the application. They didn't understand, they didn't ask the question. We have somebody who told us that her husband told her to collect all the documents and only then proceed, and she didn't submit the EOI email because her husband told her, wait until you have all your documents, which I know it sounds crazy almost, but we have all kinds of situations, and we have people who have excellent IELTS result. They didn't submit an EOI email because the person told me he was somewhere in a remote area. There was no internet. There was no way for him to submit the EOI email or to receive our notifications through WhatsApp and the mailers that we send. And Canadian Visa Expert also sent mailers, and he didn't get any of that because for the entire period of time, he didn't have internet. Those entire 3-4 weeks that the program was accepting emails now, he just didn't have internet. That's going to be a situation like that is going to be your problem. You know, if you're going to receive the email from them, we won't know because it's going to go directly to your personal inbox. If you're not going to have internet, if you're not going to check your spam, if you're not going to stay on top of it, this opportunity will be gone. And it's going to be, for some clients, it's going to be heartbreaking if you realize 2 weeks or 2 months after you received an email that said respond within 5 business days, and you didn't respond because it was in your spam or you just missed it. You didn't check your inbox carefully enough and you deleted it or whatever the case is. That's going to be terrible, okay? To be honest, that's going to be absolutely terrible. So make sure it doesn't happen to you, okay? That's all I can say about that. If the email goes to junk mail and you move it to your inbox, there's no issue. If the email goes to junk and you move it to your inbox, or, you know, it doesn't matter. The only thing, don't miss it. You know, if it's going to the junk and you don't check your junk or spam for a month, you know, this is not the right time not to check your spam or junk folders for 2 months, because there is a good chance it will go there and you will miss it, okay? What are the main criteria for selecting successful candidates? We don't know. It's up to them. It's up to them. There is no particular occupation. They even accept people who have semi-skilled work experience, not just the academic or managerial or things like that. They can select somebody who has a trade, like an electrician, plumber. You know, if you have a plumber who is willing to go to some small community and work as a plumber there, they might, you know, it might be a slam dunk. They might say, you know what, that community, if we can get a plumber to go there and live there, we need that, we want that. And that's all that it's going to take for that person to have a great chance to proceed with the process. Yesterday, I received a message that asked me to send a subject line with my full name, my ID, Canadian Visa Expert number, and that I have CLB below 6. Why Great North Immigration are asking that? We asked people who were unable to submit the EOI email within the acceptance period. That's the only people that we asked to send that email. Let's just say you had CLB 5, you didn't have CLB 6, so you couldn't submit an EOI email because of that, or you were still waiting for an IELTS and you didn't get it, or whatever the reason is. So for those clients, we ask them to send us an email that explains why they didn't submit the EOI message within the time frame, okay? That's the reason for that. It's not something that we ask everybody to do, okay? So I don't know the person who asked that. I think that you don't have the required CLB. I'm not sure. You can send me a personal email just to remind me, but I think that we already told you that you had CLB that is below 6, okay? So we want to know which candidates were unable to submit the EOI email during this cycle. Do they let people know if they didn't proceed? No, you're just not going to hear from them. I think that they're not going to respond. They're going to respond if you're going to send a questionnaire or you're going to respond to an email that they send. Obviously, they're going to continue communicating with you, even if they decided not to choose you for the exploratory visit. But for that first step of sending the email, because they get so many, there is a good chance that they will only communicate with those who they select to proceed, okay? I know it's a lot of uncertainty, but that's just how this program works. They give you the chance to be eligible by going for a visit where you can't qualify for anything else because you only have CLB6, which is below CLB7, which is what's required to most other programs. So, you know, it is what it is. There's just nothing you can do. You just need to do what you're supposed to do, take control of what is within your control, and that's it. And don't start speculating and worrying about things that are out of your control. You know, it just doesn't make sense because some people, they're worried, well, how is the trip going to be, and this and that? Are they going to contact me? Is my score going to be good? And then the message is in the spam folder, and they didn't bother to check the spam folder because their head was already 5 steps ahead of where they're supposed to focus. Okay, so just saying, you have to be mindful of that. They're going to contact you. They're going to guide. If you're going to look, the next step for you, if you receive a response from the Manitoba office, immediately forward it to us. Immediately, you forward it to info@greatnorthimmigration.com with your Canadian Visa Expert Client ID and your full name. That's all. That's what you need to do. Okay, we'll take it from there. But you need to do that. So you need to find the message if it received in your spam or inbox, and you need to forward it to us. Okay? Nobody would leave you in the dark. They're not going to just send something and not tell you anything about what the next step is. Well, is there going to be a chance for people who have CLB lower than CLB6? Probably not. It's really low. It's already pretty low, unless you are a tradesperson, maybe. But you should improve your IELTS score or test score. During the visit, what's the total expected fees or administration cost? There is no administration cost. There is no, I don't know what administration cost is, but you have to, as the candidate, you bear all the expenses. The accommodation, the flight ticket, the food you eat, all of that is your responsibility, but there is no administration cost per se. I lived outside my country of origin for more than 10 years now, but I have my job and all my legal situation is in order. Me, LM, I don't know what that means, a single mother and have my teaching job, will that affect me? I assume that you're referring to the issue of the visitor visa. These things are done on a case-by-case basis. I cannot say how CIC will evaluate your application for a visitor visa if Manitoba is inviting you. I know that they're not just going to refuse everybody just because somebody lives in a developing world country or have somewhat of a I don't know, unsteady employment situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that they would automatically reject you, but beyond that, it just goes on a case-by-case basis. This is a part of the commitment that you have to have. You have to get the time off. You have to try and get the visa. You have to make the flight. You don't know even if you get the visa and you pay for a visa and you travel and you pay for the hotel and all of that, there's no guarantee that after the interview you will be granted permission to apply for nomination. And there is no guarantee when you apply for nomination that you will receive a letter of nomination and the nomination application will be approved. And there's no guarantee that Citizenship and Immigration Canada will approve your visa application. Everything is really, you know, up in the air. There is uncertainty. Certain things supposed to happen. If you get a letter of nomination, most likely if you're not a criminal, nobody in your family is a criminal or have a medical issue, you should be able to make it to the finish line and get the visa. Many people who will be invited, most people who will be, look, if you're invited for the exploratory visit, they believe that you have a real chance to make it to the finish line. They're not just going to invite somebody to make a visit and spend all this money in Manitoba if they don't want to give them a fair chance. Now, you can do horribly during the interview, okay? Maybe you would be too nervous. Maybe, you will say silly stuff. I don't know. That's really going to be between you and the program officer. But, if you present yourself in a certain way and you're a professional and you're a serious person, then you should be fine. If they invite you for the visit and you do what you're supposed to do there, you should be fine. Now, regarding the visitor visa, again, we don't know. Every case is evaluated on its own merit. It's going to Citizenship and Immigration Canada. They make the decision. It's not automatic either way, positive or negative decision. I set an AOI twice, internet problems. Is that a problem? Both will send at the end of January. Well, hopefully at least one made it through. It shouldn't be a problem. I don't think that they're going to be penalize you or just eliminate duplicates. I think that after they select somebody, they might run a check to see if there are duplicates, so they won't select them again. But I don't really know how they're going to treat that. It's a problem that they created in a way because there's no autoresponder. So if there is no autoresponder that's confirming that you received my message, how would I know that you actually did? And they opened the door to these problems, so I don't think that they will take a very harsh stance and penalize everyone. But you never know with them. I couldn't make it to New Brunswick appointment when they invited me last year in response to my PNP application. I sent them an explanation that they refused to accept that. Would that affect my Manitoba application? We don't know. That's really, I don't know. That's personal circumstances. I don't know what exactly happened there. But if you didn't commit to settle in New Brunswick, assuming that you didn't get to an actual application, then it might not affect you adversely. What happens to the refused candidates for this cycle? Nothing. You just don't proceed, and you can try again in the next cycle. Okay, another question about the IELTS, expired IELTS. I don't know. If you have over CLB 6, there is a good chance you will still receive consideration, and it was a good move to submit it, even if it recently expired. Okay, that goes to the IELTS or TEF. This is the last question. Well, two more questions. Is there going to be a chance for people who have a CLB low? Okay, I already answered that. Probably not. Again, it's up to Manitoba. They have a lot of leeway. They can do a lot of things at their discretion. So I don't know. I don't think that if you have CLB below 6, that you have a chance. Okay. I don't think so. I don't think that they will consider it below the CLB below 6. Will there be a repeat broadcast? We're going to have more webinars, so you can obviously register for future webinars as well. What is the cost of the visa if in case we get invited to explore? Well, the government fee, if I'm not mistaken, I need to check this for you. Let me just take a quick look at the government fee, because there was a change lately, so I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the right figures. Fee list. Okay, so visitor visa, it's $100 for the multiple entry one, and it's single entry, it's also $100 now. Now, if you do a family, you can have a maximum fee for family. For visitor visa, it's $500. If, let's say, you have 7 people, the applicant, the spouse, and you have 5 kids, and all of you need a visa, it's not going to be 100 times 7, it's going to be $500, which is the max for a family. Okay, so it's $100 if it's just one person, or $200 if it's 2 people. Are there geographical quotas in accepting like so many Europeans, Asians, Africans? No, there is no. The country of origin is or region of origin or continent of origin is irrelevant. Okay, so I managed actually to answer all the questions here. Very proud for that. And let's just excuse me. Let me just thank you for attending this webinar. We might post it online and give you a link. If not, you can join any future webinar that we're going to schedule. Thank you very much. Have a great day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world, and have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.